Happy Newspaper Carrier Day, and welcome to the 15th season of the Sandlot Fantasy Football League. It's a big one, boys. Here we go, back and ready to go. We're a little late getting started here for the beginning of the season, but week one is upon us, and we're going to hit you with some draft knowledge, or lack thereof anyway. We're going to go over some team overviews here. We're going to give you our first ever power rankings and give you some predictions on the season. So that said, let's get to who we have here on the podcast today. We have Nick Makita, one of our usual here, the commish himself. What's going on, Nick?
Hey, Meryl, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. You're always on here, but hey, you're welcome just like every time.
I'd say I appreciate it. It doesn't mean I'm ungrateful just because I'm here a lot of the time. Since we lost, since one of our people decided to move overseas, I have capitalized the opportunity. And
yeah, you Wally pipped him if Wally Pip would have gotten moved to Germany and something. Anyway, the other person we have here stepping in at the last minute due to some intestinal issues from Hillers, we'd like to welcome Hillers Intestinal Issues, team name TM 2018. We've got Andy Robinson, owner of the Ween Yay. What's going on, Andy?
Hey, thanks for having me. Glad to fill in. I'm sure I can't bring things down to the level of Hillers, but I'll do my best.
Either one of you guys ever have a newspaper route on Newspaper Carrier Day here?
Never.
I played Paperboy once.
Once?
Close.
Yeah, I think once. I think that was about it.
Okay, that's a classic game.
Frustrated to throw the whole thing across the screen or across the room.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I never did either. So you had to get up way too early for that crap. You got to be up at like 3 a.m. every day.
Ride a bike, jumps.
So, in the spirit of all this back to school season, we're all getting older. We've got kids now. Sometimes we start this off with a little bit of wacky news here. And did you guys hear about the kindergarten in China and what happened there?
Nope.
Okay, so children and parents at a kindergarten in Shenzhen, China were given a shock on their first day at school on Monday when they were welcomed back with a pole dancing performance.
Okay.
Videos of the pole dancing performance are, well, we'll post them and you guys can go watch. It's quite something. But anyway.
Look at us with the interaction, with the viewer interaction.
No, I say we'll post it. We'll probably never post it. That's a lie.
No, I'm sure you won't.
No.
You can Google it.
You can Google it, yeah. By post it, I mean go to google.com and look up Chinese pole dancing. Wait.
Oh, I'm sure that'll be awesome.
A bit of a rabbit hole, I'm sure.
Yeah, don't do that. Anyway, turns out the principal, I think, got fired and a whole mess. But I don't know. How do we feel about this?
I don't know. Well, first of all, not having seen the video, what kind have you seen? Did you see the video?
Yeah. No, I haven't seen the video, but I can see a picture. It is a legit, like, what you see when you go into the club. Like, except for the nudity. No nudity, but everything else is...
Was this that parents' first day thing where the parents show up with it? Is that kind of supposed to be the gameplay in there, or is it just the kids?
You know, I just see the kids in the picture, so I don't know.
If the parents were there, then I'm game.
But yeah, dancing to the Pussycat Dolls song "Buttons" while dozens of adults and children look on. So there you go.
Then, no problems.
Yeah.
That's adult supervision right there for you.
Also featured a burlesque performance by a second dancer. Who thinks this is a good idea? What's this? Just when you think American schools are bad, folks, just remember. Anyway, so I thought that'd be funny. I didn't know.
Well, I don't know. So see, here's the thing: is having seen that, like, there's pole dancing as like a competitive sport / like exercise type. Don't get me wrong. I think a kindergarten might not be the venue for pole dancing. Let me go ahead and just clarify this right there. But I don't know. From what I just saw, like, it didn't look like anything. It wasn't the club kind of strip. I mean, there was a pole. It wasn't strip pole dancing. It was just a pole dancing. It was just there was dancing, and they were dancing on a pole, using it for spins and whatever else. Like, it's.
Well, and that's what some people said. They said, hey, pole dancing is fine. You want to do it as exercise, no problem. But bringing it to a kindergarten, I don't understand. Okay. You know, of all the options out there, there's a lot of ways to show children you can be anything you want when you grow up. This probably not the best way to go.
Well, when we play fantasy school drafting season, when it's fantasy school season, I will make sure to draft that team number one, that school number one.
Shenzhen, China.
Right now, we should probably focus on football.
Fair enough. So anyway, by the way, at Andy's when Andy hosts the draft in 2019, that will be the opening act of entertainment. We're gonna have
Yeah.
better be.
Start booking now.
we'll head down to Baltimore Street.
Some names and cards.
Yeah, head down across from the police station down there. Go to the
It can't be
high
worse
class.
than
yeah.
other clubs that we've been to in Baltimore for bachelor parties.
So,
Classic
Baja Beach, though.
oozes
Baja
out of the
Beach would be
state.
fun.
Baja Beach shut down. They ran those people out. The place.
All right.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. Draft over. So let's hit the draft overview here real quick, guys.
Okay.
What'd you guys think of the draft this year? We'll start with you, Andy. I mean, I feel like there's probably different things that happen every draft. We had a new owner this year. By the way, before we get to that, let's say farewell to Brett, who was he had about 7 or 8 years with us, and maybe even I think he had like 10 or 11 actually. But anyway, I'm compiling a spreadsheet with all that. But Brett left us, and in came Greg Roscoe to step in, and boy did he came in with a bang. Really added a lot of energy to the draft, which is nice. Not that Brett didn't do that, but I think Brett just realized he couldn't put the time into it. He couldn't put the time into it that he felt like it required, and we're gonna miss him. And but we understand. So that said, Andy, what'd you think of the draft this year?
You know, it was a good draft. We had some newer people in here. I think it was who else is Patty's first actual draft as well. So, he'd been here before. It was his first actual draft as well. So a couple new people. Draft went long this year, it felt like to me. But in general, I think and this is gonna be a running theme, I imagine, for this podcast moving forward. Just running backs, man. Whew.
Yeah.
Just there's a price to them, but I think we're all surprised at what the price ended up being. Push the price down to some other players here and there, other positions, but in general, I think things went pretty well. It was kind of a standard draft. It was good to see everybody as always.
Nick, any overall impressions? I know it's been a while, and there was a lot of beer consumed that particular day, so it's hard to remember. But anything that sticks out to you about this draft that might have made it a little different?
No, I'm glad that everyone was able to show up. I think that the fact that Roscoe, as a new owner, not knowing anyone and not really knowing anyone in the league, showing up and like you said, making his mark was great. I loved that everyone's able to come in and video call in that could make it. I think it was great. I think that I was a little bit worried just that the participation was going to be a little bit low this year for whatever reason, but everyone stepped up, and I'm really happy that I just from a scheduling standpoint, I wish that it could have been a little bit later, but again, that's something that we have zero control over as we get older. So again, and we'll get into the specifics of the draft, but I'm just happy that everyone, once again, and Pritchard, thanks so much for that. We would have been totally lost getting to your house if it wasn't for that giant balloon. So thank you.
Yes, hung a football balloon on his mailbox, which signaled that was the place. Kicked his wife and kids out for the day, sent him to the pool, and let us hooligans come down to his basement. Thank you, Pritchard, for that, stepping up last minute.
His wife actually tried coming down the stairs one time, and Pritchard said, "No, get back upstairs, go."
Yeah,
it was crazy.
That was awkward.
I was like, "You shouldn't talk to your wife like that." And she was like, "Well, she knows." And I was like, "Well, all right."
Yeah, I don't know. We may want to call somebody about that, but it's probably fine.
Yeah.
I think I think like just getting into a little bit of the specifics on it. I didn't feel like there were any like crazy deals that happened in the draft. Like I feel like in previous years there were just like these crazy like 2 or 3 crazy buys that everybody remembers as like that was a great buy and that was the best buy of the draft. I don't feel like there was that this year. I feel like the values are really starting to. I mean, there were values. Don't get me wrong, but none that were crazy.
Right. That's a pretty good observation. I think that.
Thank you.
I almost agree. I think there was a lot of value kept. So I think that there was without looking back at it, I think not having done the analysis beforehand. Just to see like how much money was actually in the table, that would be fun to see is when everyone walked in, like how much money was available. Because I think that had a lot to do with it. And that's just by the nature of the league is that, as teams get better and players get acquired and deals get made, that it makes it harder and harder to get good players because of inflation. So
yeah,
sure.
It's definitely a premium.
Yeah, that's true. As more values kept, I guess that's what happens. People just have more money to throw around.
Right.
So as you can see here up on your screen, we've actually got the draft board up. Look at us, all technology and such here. I'm gonna actually try to make it a little bigger so people can see it. So let's get into it a little bit. We're actually going to get into, I guess we'll get into the team overviews here, unless you guys want to harp on the draft at all. I mean, were there any keepers that surprised you? Anything that, or last minute trades that threw you off, or anything like that you want to say before we actually get specifically into teams, or should we just dive into it?
Speaking of that, what you just said, though, I love the level of engagement that was going on in the league. I feel like there was a lot of trades going on this year,
In the last
especially a
24
lot
hours.
of last-minute trades, and that was actually really cool. I like to see that kind of activity going on.
Yeah. No, definitely. It was, I feel like people always keep more players than I think they will. Like, I don't know if that's, like, I always try to map out keepers before we get started, and I feel like I'm mapping out, like, oh, there's no way they're going to keep that guy. There's no way they're going to keep 2 quarterbacks. And then, they always come in and they keep 2 quarterbacks, or, like, they always keep that extra guy, even though he's at a little above what his value should be, or right at his value. They say, you know what, I just want to lock this guy up, I guess.
Right.
And so that just makes the player pool even that much harder. And so you've got, like, one running back that's worth a damn that you want to draft at that point, which means, hello, $65 or whatever it's going to be. But, yeah. All right, well, let's... The draft board's up there, whatever. You can pause it and look at it if you want to. But let's jump into the team overviews here. And we're going to start with, see if this works. There we go. Look at this. We got team overviews on one side. We got us on the other side. And we even got a logo up there in the corner. Look at us. We're all professional like. And we'll start with EBS here. Anthony, who is at least one-time champion and would have been 2-time champion had it not been for Ryan Longwell about 8 or 9 years ago, who missed an extra point costing him the championship. But ask him about it. He loves talking about it. So Anthony came in and he kept Andrew Luck at 16, Jay Ajayi at 18.
Traded for Andrew Luck at the last minute.
Traded for Andrew Luck. That's right. I traded him. Andrew Luck. He gave me Randall Cobb, and he traded for Ajayi last minute. That's right.
Too, yeah.
Who did he give away for Ajayi? Do we remember? To Watson? Look that up anyway. Ajayi for 18.
Tariq Cohen, I believe.
Tariq Cohen. There you go. I know Watson's not a big Ajayi fan, so he got Antonio Brown for some reason. He kept him for 28. And then Michael Thomas for 13. And I think that was it. Just 5 keepers. Sorry. So, yeah.
That's about right.
No, 4 keepers. Only 1 running back. So... So in the draft, the big buys he had looks like were Joe Mixon for $50. He got Golden Tate for 28, and those were the big ones. And then he got several other kind of mid-tier guys. Ronald Jones for 12 was another buy. But looking at this team, we'll start with you, Andy. What do you think of how Anthony did here and how he's got his team structured?
Well, anybody who's going to start with Antonio Brown as your centerpiece, you got a shot. The dude puts up 40 spots multiple times a year. I think last year he did it 2 or 3 times. Number 5 player in all of scoring last year. That's pretty solid. You throw on top of that Michael Thomas that he kept for $13, who was the number 24 scorer last year.
Overall or receiver?
Overall.
Okay.
Overall
right.
Last year.
Wow. Yeah.
If there's a weakness here, it's obviously you look at his running backs. Again, I think this is going to be a theme going through any team here to kind of gauge their strength as running backs. As we saw in the draft, running backs have a premium to them. So I think you have to kind of look at his running backs and say, how happy is he? I think he's fairly happy that now Matt Breida is looking like a startable asset out there in San Francisco. So that helps. I think that pumps him up a bit there. You don't know what you can get out of Mixon necessarily yet. Revamped offensive line there. We'll see what happens. But he's got depth. I mean, he's going to be starting Golden Tate as a flex probably, and anytime you get a chance to do that really ain't bad.
Right. Especially in a PPR league. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like he went, for the kind of general tight end waiver. So, that's fine. I think his quarterbacks are fine as well. So. I know he was a little iffy leaving the draft about some of the players he got, but I think he's in a position that he can make some moves and probably strengthen his team quite a bit.
Nick?
I really have nothing to add to that. I mean, he's going to live and die by not live and die. A big question mark is what's going to happen with Andrew Luck this year for him. But I mean, like, that shouldn't be a problem. But yeah, Andrew Luck will be fine. But I mean, that's just the only question mark that he really has in terms of the biggest unknown. But he has Antonio Brown and Michael Thomas. Like, that's going to be his bread and butter for that. That's what's going to keep him in these games.
Yeah.
Like, that's what he's going to. He has Antonio Brown in a PPR league. That's all you need. Like, if you're not going to have Le'Veon Bell or David Johnson or Melvin Gordon, like, Antonio Brown is the next person that you want. So he's fine. Like, he's fine.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely right. I mean, he yeah, I mean, like you said, a theme, Andy, is, running backs might be lacking. I mean, it seems like they came at a premium this year, but going into a PPR league, do you guys feel like, kind of stepping back a little bit to the draft overall, do you guys feel like that changed the draft at all? Was there, you think receivers went for more than they typically do, or do you think like people got drafted that normally don't, or do you feel like it still was pretty much the same draft?
I think it inflated the cost of some of the lower tier running backs a little bit, but that's about it. Like, and I look at like James White for $7. Like, that's an example of the kind of player who gets paid a little bit more for his value, because he does. I don't know if he necessarily gets drafted if it's not PPR, let alone for $7. Like, I mean, he would have probably been a waiver dollar player at the end.
That might be a sneaky pickup for him too, because you could see him coming out as a top 10 running back almost with a PPR format, with them not having Wes Welker. He might be filling in that role too. So that we'll see how that plays out for him. But yeah. $7 PPR. It was mostly those tier running backs felt like went, in the past, if they went in a draft, it would be a $2 maximum.
Yeah, but I mean, that could have just been at the end of the draft and James White was available and people panicked. I mean,
yeah,
it's fine.
As a note too for Anthony, he's gonna need to look for a kicker. One Dan Bailey just got cut off.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to advise against people giving roster advice on who to pick up.
We shouldn't even have other story. We shouldn't even have him on the rosters, but it's a kicker. So I will leave that one.
That'll be another podcast.
That's a rule. Podcast. Yeah, rule upcoming next year. We're going to vote on no more kickers. But yeah, I agree. He's got the best wide receivers in the league, I think, by far. So that's what's going to carry this team, and that can overcome for weaknesses elsewhere. Every team's going to have a weakness in one position or the other. It's just about where you invest your money. Clearly, he's strong at wide receivers. I think he's strong at quarterback. I think Luck has. I mean, I think the last couple of healthy years he's had, he's been QB4 or better. So if he's healthy again, I mean, that's a pretty good price for him. And, you can a lot of times find a tight end who will provide some value for you. So, yeah, I think it was a good draft by Anthony. Don't forget he's got Evan Ingram down there who's hurt. But should be back. It's not a major injury, so should be back pretty soon, which, you plug in a top 5. I think he's probably top 5-ish tight end. Plug him in there, and you got yourself a really solid team there. Nice work, Ant. Next team will be Cyborg Tony Romo, Mr. Bosco himself. Came into the draft. I think he only kept one guy. Yeah, two guys. No, one guy. Alvin Kamara made a trade the night before the draft. Well, made a couple trades for kickers and a couple kicker trades that happened, but turns out he didn't really want to keep those after all, after I think much deliberation. Ended up trading away Odell Beckham Jr. for Alvin Kamara on the eve of the draft, I think, and kept Kamara for $22. After that, his big draft picks were Royce Freeman for $39, T.Y. Hilton for $31, Juju Smith-Schuster for $21, and Robert Woods for $13. We'll start with you on this one, Nick. Mr. Roscoe is very confident in his team leaving the draft here. How confident are you in this team?
I like his receivers. You know what? I think that he worked the best that he could with the team that he was given. I think that Brett's team was a dumpster fire, to say the absolute nicest that you can say about it. And he just walked into it saying, "You know what? I have a trade to make to get Alvin Kamara." And I don't think I would have made that trade. I think I would have rather had Beckham, and God, I wouldn't have given to Dad Dix, but that's another story. I think it seems fine. I think that he's kind of going to be rebuilding for a little while. His running backs are such a huge question mark right now. Like, even Kamara was as great as he was last year. Who's to say that he'll be able to repeat that this year, especially with Ingram out for the first 4 games? Like, can Kamara actually carry the load for be the guy for 4 games.
That's what she said.
He worked carry the load or be the guy for 4 games.
Does it matter?
Whatever. I mean, he's banking a lot on rookies and unproven talents. That's how you're gonna rebuild this. That's how you're gonna rebuild a team, is by taking flyers on these things and seeing what happens. So,
yep.
Good luck,
Andy.
Yeah, I say what you will about the trade. He got a number 1 running back, which you need in this league. He filled it out with Royce Freeman, number 2 running back. I think that's going to probably prove to be a fine pick for him. It seems he did try to run the PPR route. He a lot of these players you look at are kind of numbers guys. Robert Woods, you're talking about receiving guys. Kenneth Dixon, Ty Montgomery. Those are guys that are going to be pulling a lot of receptions, maybe not a ton of yards. So we'll see how it kind of plays out. First year is PPR, so we'll see how much that really affects things. But I mean, if you told me at the end of this year this was the worst team of the league, I don't think I'd be surprised. If you told me at the end of the year this was a top 3 to 5 team, I'm not sure I'd be super surprised. I think it's a lot of unknowns. So I guess we'll just kind of see how it plays out, really.
Yeah, I mean, you got a rebuilding job like he's got to go. I mean, the other thing, you replace an owner in a league, you want to come in, you kind of want to make it your own, right? So that's probably another reason he only kept 1 guy. And the 1 guy he kept, he traded for, right? So every guy on this team is new, basically.
True.
From last year. So this is his team. He's built it. And, yeah, like you guys said, you got to take chances, man. I mean, it's you're not playing to come in third. You're playing to win this thing. And he's got a lot of guys who, like you said, Andy, I mean, are either going to totally just be terrible or just completely blow up and maybe, hell, who knows, maybe win him the league. You never know. I mean, if Matt Ryan bounces back, that's a great quarterback. I mean, you got Stafford as well. He's pretty solid. But, yeah, I mean, Kenneth Dixon, he's 1 injury away from being the guy, right? I mean, there's Royce Freeman. My God, a rookie running back for $39 that if he turns out to be as good as people think he can be, that's keeper value too. I mean, he can keep him for 2 or 3 years after that. So,
Yep.
Yeah, he got some good deals here. Not the most reliable team out there, but you talk boom or bust. I mean, this is what you want when you look at a rebuilding team here. So yeah, nice job, Roscoe. And love having you in the league, man. You were fun at the draft for sure.
The way things go this season, he's either going to be getting a lot of bottles of booze or dealing out a lot of bottles of booze. We'll have to see.
Yeah, that's true. We made a lot of bets. Check the bet book. Yeah. All right. Let's jump into Touchdown Jesus, our next team. Let's see if this works. Oh, there we go. Look at that. All right. Touchdown Jesus came in. Mr. Pritchard is a guy who a lot of times comes in with not that much money to spend, and this year he went away from his plan and actually threw back a lot of guys. He ended up keeping Cam, which he seems to always do, but then the only other guy he kept was Tyreek Hill, which you have to do at $7. So he kept Cam at 16, Tyreek Hill at 7, which left him with $177. That's math I just did off the top of my head. Yeah, you got it. And yeah, had a lot of money to work with. And what did he do with it? He got his big purchase was Derrick Henry for $42, LeSean McCoy for $32. I mean, laugh about Derrick Henry, but dude's a beast. LeSean McCoy for $32, Marlon Mack $17, CJ Anderson $12, Jamal Williams $18, and then Emmanuel Sanders $19. So, and he pulled in Delaney Walker at $14. So,
Jake Butt.
And he also has a guy named Jake Butt on his team. So, yeah. Andy, looking at Pritchard's team here, what do you think of how he's starting out the year?
So this team to me screams of draft sticker shock, of watching the running backs go early and realizing, well, I don't really have any. I need to start paying for these guys that are remaining. So, on his team, he's got a $32 LeSean McCoy. That could actually end up being a pretty good price for him. We just have to see. From what I understand, he's going to play week 1. He's, I don't know, 35 now. So, but he's looked great every year.
He's not that old.
I think he's 31 or 32.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry's, they're going to give him the rock every game as the number 1 running back. We'll see how that pans out.
LeSean McCoy is 30 years old.
Is he 30? Well, there you go.
He just feels like he's 35 because he's been around forever.
But I love Newton. Newton now has even more value with our passing touchdowns being at 4 points because his rushing touchdowns are going to basically mean even more to him. See what happens with Des Bryant. His receivers. He's got a couple guys that he's banking on off of down years last year. Emmanuel Sanders, who I love, but had a down year last year. Sammy Watkins is kind of a perpetual disappointment for what they hope of him, but the dude is crazy talented. So, I could see some boom out of this team for sure. It's kind of another team of kind of questions. We'll have to see. A lot of these guys are in new positions, new roles, new teams, new quarterbacks in the case of like Sanders. And personally, for $1, I think him picking up Jake Butt is a great flyer. He got drafted real early last year. He went down with an ACL. He could end up being a really big game changer for him.
Nick,
this team. You know what? Maybe I'm just looking at this team and thinking that there's just absolutely nothing flashy about this team that I really like. So I'm just kind of like meh on it. But there is just nothing on this team that I like. Like,
okay, well, tell us how you really feel.
I mean, I like Tyreek Hill, maybe, but we'll see. It's fine. I mean, I don't like it. There's just nothing flashy about this team.
Okay.
In the interest of time, I'm just going to say there's nothing flashy about this team. I totally agree with you with what Andy said, that this is probably an example of sticker shock. Sticker shock of like.
Well, that's what happens. That's why Derrick Henry was $42, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then he also got so it's just whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, Des Bryant was funny to draft, and it's cool, but
only $1.
I mean, he's only $1, and there's no such thing as a bad dollar pick. I totally get that, and it's like if Des, and we drafted so early that Des could have very easily signed with someone, and if nothing else, worst case scenario, after a couple of weeks, he has someone that he can drop with zero problems for his, and pick up another wide receiver. Like that's basically an IR spot for him that you can just drop the player. Like it's a free wide receiver slot for him,
right?
If he wants to. Like then that's kind of
who's
nice at this point.
Who's your flex player on this team?
Me?
No, Pritchard, not you. But if you're Pritchard, you're Mike Pritchard. Give me your best Pritchard impersonation and tell me what you're thinking when you're picking a flex player here. Get
back upstairs.
Sammy, he didn't do that.
It's a callback. It's a callback joke.
Yeah, callback.
I can totally see how he would say this too.
Yeah.
Sammy Watkins? I don't know.
Yeah, right.
I think Sammy Watkins would be his flex player. Plus, because he's Kansas City. Like I think Sammy Watkins would be the flex anyway. But given that it's a Chief, that alone just locks him in as the flex. So
a lot of big talk about Jamal Williams, though. He could end up being his number one running back.
I think you start 3 running backs. I think you go Williams, McCoy, and Henry.
At least you see what they do with Watkins.
At least until McCoy goes to jail or whatever's happening with him. That's right thing. Yeah. No, Pritchard. Yeah, it's not. We never really. I don't feel like we ever come out of the draft loving his team. But, he's just a solid owner. He always seems to do well during the season. He's one of those great in-season owners who finds value on the waiver wire and, just kind of sees things differently than other owners, I feel like, and it works to his advantage. So that's why does he have 2 championships or just 1? I don't know. I can't remember. But anyway, he's been a pretty successful league owner. But, yeah, I don't think he loves Derrick Henry at $42.
Looks like 1 from the homepage.
1, okay. Well, that's 1 more than that's
the 3 of us.
The 3 of us combined. So, what are we gonna say? What do we know?
I like how we pretty much said that at the same time.
Now let us critique your team, please.
We may have been hanging out too long.
So anyway, yeah, that's why we run the podcast. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I don't think this is gonna be anybody's favorite team right now, but with Pritchard, who knows? He can make it work. All right, let's jump to the next one here, and it is the duplex of mediocrity. Final team in the push-ups division. Dave came in keeping Derek Carr for, how was his salary? $3? No. He didn't keep him. Sorry, never mind. He kept Alex Collins for $6.
Just stick to the script.
Yeah, he kept. I don't have his scripts. That's the problem. Duke Johnson for $12. pretty good in the keeper league. Devontae Adams for 15. Amari Cooper for 26. And then his big picks. Yeah. He got Kenyon Drake, who could have been kept for $6, but ended up instead going for $42 in the draft. That was his big purchase. And then the other ones he got, let's see. Nick Chubb for 18. Lynch for 13. Anyway, let's jump in here. I don't know who we started with last time. I think Andy. So let's go.
Why don't you lead us off, Muriel?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Okay. So the one thing I'll say about this, Nick was drafting 2 teams. Hillers was unable to make it to the draft. To everyone's disappointment, because Hillers is a lot of fun at the draft for sure, for many reasons. One, because he just always about halfway through just hates his team so much, and the other reason is he's cracks some pretty good jokes every now and then. So we did miss you, Hillers, but
we had Roscoe. We were good.
Yeah, Roscoe was provided filled the space nicely. So no, Dave came in. He likes his guys, right? He dropped Derek Carr, but got him back for $3. I don't know. This team is not one of my favorite teams that's out there. Dave is a 2-time champion, so again, that's 2 more than 3 of us combined, so I'm not going to jump all over him too much. I do like Tyler Eifert at $1. I think that could be really solid. But there's nobody on this team that really jumps out. It's not a scary team to face, right? If you're going to pick a team that you want to play in this league right now, I feel like the duplex is probably going to be near the top of the list, if not at the top, just because I don't think there's a lot on there that scares you. I mean, his starting running backs are going to be Kenyon Drake and Alex Collins, which could be great, but probably not how Dave saw it playing out. So not a huge fan of the team, but we never are with Dave's team, and that's usually when he wins championships. So why don't we jump to you, Nick, see what you think about it.
I think that it's great that he's won 2 championships, and in 2013 and 2007 that was awesome for him, but let's call a spade a spade. That's because he had LaDainian Tomlinson, Antonio Gates, and Phillip Rivers.
Not in 2013.
Didn't he?
No, those guys were long gone by then.
I guess so. I forget who he had, but they probably were too good for to be true. So, no, I agree with you. You hit the nail on the head. There's absolutely nothing flashy about this team, and I think that I think that he unfortunately was in a situation where he had to draft 2 teams, and I can't imagine is easy. That's a lot of pressure put on one person to have to worry about. Oh, well, I know what person B wants, but I know what I want. So am I allowed to bid on this? Like, even if you are able to somehow separate it, like, are you really able to separate that? Like, it's just tough. It's just tough. And I feel like his team suffered for it. So everything that you said times 2.
Yeah.
Plus 1 to that.
Yeah, I hate to say I love Dave. He always cracks me up with the draft. It's always good seeing him. But I got to be honest. I think there's other teams I think maybe worse than this. But this team is one of the biggest collection of players that I just hate. I do. I'm not a Drake fan. I'm not a Collins fan. I'm not a Lynch fan at this point in his career. I don't trust Adams. Adams is fine. Cooper, I kind of, but his rest of the receiver, Will Fuller catches a touchdown, last year, every 2 passes.
Yeah, it's probably not going to continue. Yeah.
And I don't love it. But you know what? Things fall the right way with them. Who knows? I mean, just because I don't like him, that's probably actually a good thing. So
I do like Kyle Rudolph.
I think Nick Chubb, by the way, Nick Chubb at $18, I think he could be the starter at the end of this year and could be a crazy good value. He has looked like an absolute workhorse, just standard prototypical NFL running back. He may be the guy.
Standard or prototypical?
Yes.
Okay.
The problem is, so is Carlos Hyde.
Yeah, and Carlos Hyde has had injury problems. I just think they drafted him high 2nd round. I think he could be an absolute steal come to the end of the year. But again, the fact that I dislike a lot of these players may actually be a good thing. So
let's be honest. We're down on Kenyon Drake, but I mean, he was good last year. He was good last year. Ask Merrill how. Ask Merrill how he.
Yeah, Johnson's going to be great for him. He catches 7 passes a game, so that's guaranteed 7 points plus yards.
Well, the problem is I think that Cleveland's backfield now is just. I mean,
well, he's not a running back. They split him out in the slot.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's yeah, we'll see. The other thing is, it's not. I think we'll all agree it's probably not the strongest division in our league. So, there might be some low point wins he can get, even if he doesn't score a ton. So,
Yep. Absolutely.
we call that the Porcelli when you do that. So, he's gonna get mad at that one.
Is that a segue?
Yep. No, we already did his
we
team.
already talked about it. Sorry.
All right, let's jump
Pay
to
attention, Nick.
the jumping jacks. Here, we're gonna go to
Jumping jacks, not jumping jacks. Jumping jacks.
Jumping jacks. By the way, division names. Who came up with this? Is what happened with these?
So, did you watch Hard? So, do you watch Hard Knocks?
No, not this year.
Okay, so it's the Browns, and their offensive line coach is just everything that you expect a Clevelandian to be. He is just this
Clevelander, I think, is the term.
Clevelandian.
Clevelandite?
Super. We'll post the video for those. who haven't seen it.
Clevelandonian.
Just this super
That
heavyweight,
sounds
heavy guy, huge mustache, and he goes on this great rant that I'm probably not going to do it much justice, but it goes something like this. You know what, guys? We fought in 2 world wars, World War I and World War II. And you know what they did? They did jumping jacks, they did sit-ups, climbed a rope, and ran. Didn't do any of the stretching shit. You didn't see them running on Normandy with the rubber bands, worried about the hamstrings.
Oh my
You know what it was. Jumping jacks, sit-ups, and push-ups. That's it.
Oh God!
So
Really?
I
He's
can't
like,
even.
fitness in the 1940s was fine. Why would we ever change it? That's his whole thing.
And he drives a white. But you have to see this guy. He drives a white Maserati. He is. I can't even. He is like 500 pounds, and like when he yells "hut," his stomach like shakes. And they frame it so that you can see his face, but it's on his stomach when it goes "hut." It goes "what?" What? It's you have to see this. It's
All right. Well, that said,
video number 2 to share.
who were the division winners last year? I don't even remember, but we need to. I mean, we can keep these division names, but we can also come up with division names. So, however we want to do this, we'll send out an email after this, trying to figure out who the division winners were, and they can get together and figure something out. But anyway, let's get to the first team in this is running out of fucks, which is Nick's team.
Choops,
Nick,
Hitmen, and Dad Dicks. For the
Choops, Hitman, and Dad Dicks. Okay.
Yeah.
All right then. We'll get together and we'll figure that out. So, Nick's team is up here first. Nick ended up keeping Zeke and Fournette. Shocker. Julian Edelman, which I know you waited till last minute to try to figure out who you were keeping there, and Josh Gordon. Very cheap keepers, wide receiver wise, and then also you got Travis Kelce for free. Because you traded away a guy who just got dropped, and Hiller's so wise pre-draft strategy. We'll get to that. Your big purchases were what were they? What did you buy? You didn't have a lot of money, did you? Though.
No.
Chris Carson for 17 was my biggest.
Yeah.
It was a lot of guys in the teens, tens.
And you left about 18 or 20 on the table, I think.
Yeah,
too.
I have a lot of money on the table.
So that's why there's not a lot of big salaries here. But anyway, Andy, looking at Nick's team, what do you think?
He's going with just Phillip Rivers. I think that's fine. I don't think he probably is in love with that, but he's a startable caliber quarterback in the league. I think the running back situation here is deep, especially with the move for Alfred Morris. Plunking 26 down for Alfred Morris, maybe a little much. Can't tell. We don't know. Seems like a lot to me, but hey, listen, if you want a running back, the dude's got starters across the board in running back, and that's going to mean a lot, I think, after injuries. Edelman, he's got to suffer through 4 games without Edelman. I think he'll be fine. He's got some Kenny G, which I think is going to have a good year this year. His wide receivers are kind of questionable in my mind, but that being said, the value that he got them at Nelson at 10, if he plays even close to Nelson of last year, great. Sterling Shepard at 5, I think is a great value. But I don't know. You seem to me like you have a lot of mid to low end receiver 2s to figure out who the hell to start each week. And I love your tight ends. I think Travis Kelce is great, and OJ Howard is looking really good in preseason. that maybe that's a tradable asset with one of these receivers to get to get up to an actual number one receiver. I don't know. I think you have things you can work with here, tools you can work with, but yeah.
Yeah, I love the running backs. I mean, I don't know when the shift happened for you, Nick, to where you've just abandoned wide receiver and gone all in on running back, because it used to be the complete opposite. I don't know, going back, it's probably been 6, 7, 8 years at this point, but yeah, I think you might have the deepest running back core in the league, and that's not just saying it's deep, because at the top you've got Fournette and Zeke, which are, I mean, come on, that's a pretty good 1-2 punch right there. So, something happens to them, you got some nice options to plug in there. The Alfred Morris thing at 26, I will say, I think the last time he was in Shanahan's office, I think it was 2013 maybe, or 14 even. But 2013, he had 1,200 yards and 7 touchdowns the last time he was on a Shanahan offense. So that seems pretty good to me. So, $26, if that's the case, if he can do that again, if he can repeat that somehow, who knows? He did only have 9 catches that year. So, not the best for a PPR league, but
it's his running back 5.
This is your running back 5, right, off waivers. So what are we worried about here? Yeah, I have no idea who you start at receiver, by the way. I got nothing for that. I don't. Good luck with that one. That's going to frustrate you for a long time, I feel like. But and the quarterback thing, you've kind of gone with the no QB strategy. Basically, just pick up whoever's left at the end, pick up the scraps, and pay cheap and find somebody. Which last year got you to the championship. So,
Mind you, Philip Rivers did outscore Drew Brees last year.
Yeah, I mean, Rivers is fine. I think he's fine, and you can pick up guys to fill in good matchups if you need to. But yeah, I think it's a solid team, Nick. I think heck, you can always deal a running back for a wide receiver in this league. So if something goes your way, you can always make that deal. So what was your strategy coming in, and how do you think it went?
I had so I didn't actually know what my strategy was going to be. I let the draft come to me and figure out what I could do with it.
And the shocker of all time.
Yeah, no, but I mean, even for planning purposes, I was like, I just didn't know what to expect. I think that I really, in hindsight, the one thing I wish I would have done is gone more in on a receiver. But I don't even like. I mean, if I went in on Juju, because I had enough money to probably go after Juju instead of Jordy Nelson. I'm like, okay, that's the next guy that I have. Like,
yeah.
And, that's the only other person. I probably would have gone in Will Fuller a little bit higher, but then that still would have kind of left me in the same kind of situation of who do I start? Like, that still would have been that same kind of caliber of guy. So I don't know. I feel like it was a running back. I feel like it just sort of like happened to play out for me to have the running backs, and then I just sort of got the receivers that I thought I could get.
You just waited for a value to waited till the bidding started slowing down on values, and then you jumped in, kind of thing, right? Like
like there was just nothing. Yeah, like I didn't want to get tied up and then find myself in a situation where. And again, it's like you have all your money saved, and it's like, oh, well, I'm going to be getting into a bidding war for these guys. Like, oh, Jordy Nelson's still available. I'm going to get into a bidding war with them, so I need to save my money.
Yeah.
But then it's like, oh, hey, well, he went for $10, and he went from like $1 to $10 because I said Jordy Nelson $10. Like, yeah. I was ready to just like, okay, let's go. Let's just jump into it at 10. And everyone kind of looked at me like, you could have got him for 2. Like,
yeah, maybe.
So I didn't just leave, the $18 on my table. I probably left close to like 23. I just happened to like overpay a little bit.
One of these years, you're actually going to spend your money, and your draft's going to be terrifying. It's going to be so good. So
one of these years, I'm going to figure that out.
It was still good this year, I think. Pretty solid.
Actually, it would have been. I should have gone in on Russell Wilson. Actually, is what I should have bet on up a little bit more.
No.
And then I would have not had Philip, and then I would have not had Philip Rivers. So that would have been the difference.
Maybe, yeah.
Like, I mean, those are the two players in hindsight that I'm like, man, those are the guys that I could have done.
That might have changed your team from a really good team to a scary team. That could be the.
Yeah. All right. Next team is Patty Van Winkle. This is Patty's first draft. This is his first year in the league was last year, but he was unable to attend the draft. So we had a sub come in, or a proxy come in and draft for him. And Patty came in keeping 2 quarterbacks, which was I figured he would keep Wentz and throw Breeze back, but he kept Breeze and Wentz. He kept Breeze for 25 and Wentz for 7. He also kept Julio at 32, which you have to do, and Jarvis Landry at 21, which is fine. I think that's great, especially in a PPR. His big picks were Lamar Miller at 31 and Carlos Hyde at 13, which could be. I'm a Carlos Hyde guy, so I'm biased, but I think that could be great considering he went for 47 last year. And then receiver-wise, he got Aguilar at 9, which looks good with But anyway, we won't go through that too much. And then Jimmy Graham at 10. So, Nick, what do you think of Patty's draft overall? His first live draft in this league.
I think that drafts are hard. I think that the first year that you do one, especially if you've to do a draft in general, auction draft, even if you're just doing a redraft lead, is scary as hell the first time you do it. And to come into it when you are adding the layer of a keeper to it, it adds that much more strategy to it. So I'm giving him a pass in the sense that he just didn't know, maybe he just wasn't aware of how to play this out. And it happens. Like I think we've all been in that place before. So there's no real. It's not fair to say, oh well, you know this is a terrible team. Like it's not the best. It's definitely not the strongest team, but he has some pieces that he'll be able to build on for the future. He has some pieces that he'll be able to trade if they start panning out a little bit, and he wants to see what he can do with it. So I think that for his first draft, he did fine. I just don't think this is a very strong team.
Yeah, you know, I second that. I think there's some good value on this team, but you know, keeping Breeze and Wentz, I guess I kind of get that with Wentz not, you know, kind of you don't know, and it sounds like he's not going to play week 1. Maybe there's some trade value. Maybe that's somebody, Nick, you look at. Who knows?
Maybe
Hyde at 13. Yeah, you know, he's looked great in the past. It's just maybe I have that Cleveland bias and stink. To me, he's a Cleveland player. I'm not buying in to the whole Cleveland turnaround yet. That being said, I am a fan of Jarvis Landry. The dude seems to get open every single play. So on a PPR league, he might be his number one over. I mean, he's not going to be his number one over Julio, but he might be, you know, a number one quality receiver. But outside of Landry and Jones, this team is a bunch of just kind of ho-hum. Let's see what happens. You know, maybe he starts the right receivers each week and Sony Michel comes back into some phenom, or Jordan Wilkins somehow does something behind that awful Indianapolis offensive line. I don't know. I see about a 500 team here, which is, by the way, way better than the first auction team I drafted. So, you know,
Yeah,
I think he's got some wins at least here.
Yeah.
I like this team. I think it's solid. You know, he had some studs that he could keep, which helped. I think he got some good values. Like I know people don't love Carlos Hyde, but for $13 for probably a starting running back on day one of a overhyped team. I mean, of course it's overhyped, but it still might work out.
I mean, there are so many. I mean, if you look at it, and I'm sorry to just derail this off of Patty, but even though I'm sorry, I'm still going to do it. But you had look at all the we've already talked about Duke Johnson, Josh Gordon, Jarvis Landry, Carlos Hyde, Nick Chubb. Like we've talked about 5 different Cleveland people who are trying to score points for people. Like people are somewhat relying on their draft. Like this is the Browns we're talking about. Like they're not that good.
Yeah. I think they have a lot of talent. I think their coaching staff is abysmal. I think that's the main problem.
Not that big.
But yeah, I think it was a solid draft for Patty. I think this team could. I think it's deep. You know, it lacks a lot of the star power, you know, that you see on like, for instance, you know, the Dad Dicks, who we haven't gotten to yet. But I think there's a lot of solid guys who I wouldn't have a problem starting, you know, a week, you know, plugging into my lineup here a couple weeks there. You know, like these are guys you can start and not feel terrible about it, right? Like they're guys who you can start and think you're going to get something out of. So I like this team. I think it could be pretty good, and I think you got some good values. So I say nice work, Patty.
Okay.
Next team, Hitmen. Let's see. I came in. I kept Kareem Hunt, and I traded for Christian McCaffrey. I gave up Tom Brady for Christian McCaffrey. I kept Kareem Hunt for 26, McCaffrey for 42, which I didn't feel great about until after the draft started happening, and then I felt pretty good about McCaffrey at 42.
So Cook goes for 60.
Yeah, exactly. Also kept Keenan Allen at 33. and traded for Randall Cobb. That was the Tom Brady for Randall Cobb trade. Oh no, Andrew Luck for Randall Cobb. Sorry, for I got Cobb for $6. He was $1, but after increase he was $6. Big purchases were Aaron Rodgers at 20. What the heck else?
About it.
Adam Thielen.
Adam Thielen at 24, and then just a bunch of other stuff kind of mixed in there. So I'll start with you on this one, Andy. What are your thoughts?
Top to bottom, starters. If you look at starters in this team, I like this team a lot. Rodgers at 20, maybe the deal of the draft. I don't know. I mean, he was one of the first players to go, so I think people looked at 20. But the guy can put up monster numbers. So that, I mean, he alone could carry it. But with 4 points per touchdown, he's not quite what he used to be.
And PPR now too.
Yeah, love Kareem Hunt and McCaffrey. McCaffrey could end up being your number one, all things said, out of these two. The way they're talking about him, Theo Riddick is a great flex pickup. The guy catches a ton of balls, throws up some touchdowns here and there too. That's what you need out of your flex. Keeping Keenan Allen, if he stays healthy, love it. But he's got injury history. So if he goes down, your receivers could be hurting. I know you don't love the idea of having to completely rely on Randall Cobb, which I was shocked to see you trade for the person you maybe hate the most.
It was $1.
Cortland Sutton, I've heard a lot of great things about him in preseason. I don't know anything about him, but Adam Thielen, he could be kind of one of those linchpin players for you, because if he does what he did last year, you may be golden here. But new quarterback, how does he deal with it? How does he work with these guys out of the slot? Kind of yet to be seen there. But I mean, if he repeats what he did last year, man, that's a solid number 2 receiver. I think this team is pretty strong top to bottom.
You also have Alshon Jeffrey. That's your other big pickup.
Oh yeah, that was right. Yeah, don't love that either. Nick.
Oh, Alshon.
Okay, who's your flex?
This week probably Cobb. Could be Cobb or Riddick, I figure.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just going to mimic what Andy said. I mean, we're all pretty much on the same page with a lot of the stuff. Yeah. I agree. I agree. We can move on. And I don't mean that in like in a snarky way. It's just there's nothing really I can add to this. My question right now is Thielen, like, is it going to be Diggs or Thielen? Like, Cousins doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that is going to spread the ball around that much. But maybe that's just because he was on Washington before, and it's not like they were really good at that. Like, he's going to throw to Rudolph. He's going to throw to a receiver.
Yeah.
And the question is just so when you say like if he can do what he can do last year, like, well, it's not can he mimic what he did last year? It's he has to mimic what he did last year with like under a new quarterback with a new system. Like,
yep.
And that's a huge question mark. So we shall see. But yeah, no, I mean, if you're starting Cobb or Riddick in your flex, like that's definitely a question mark for you. But I mean, we all have our question mark. So if your question mark is the flex position, then at some point, then that'll work itself out. Yeah,
and when Alshon comes back, it'll probably be him. But I don't know. Yeah, that'll be a constant kind of rotating thing. Yeah, I didn't love Rodgers at 20, but I kind of came in like you, Nick. I was like, well, let's just wait for the values and jump in and just get the best value as it comes up. And that's how I ended up with Rodgers. Like the bidding slowed down at like 17. I'm thinking, well, okay, 18, and then you goes to 19. You're like, all right, I'll go $1 more. I'd rather go $1 more on Aaron Rodgers than go $1 more on whatever other
Derrick Henry,
right at the end of the draft. Right. So
yeah, but that's guaranteed points per dollar right there with putting money on Rodgers.
Yeah, if he stays healthy. I mean, he's had we talk about health issues. He's been banged up quite a bit, and quarterbacks this year are even less valuable because we've gone to PPR for 2 reasons. One, because we've gone to PPR, so they're not gonna so other positions are going to score more and have a bigger impact. And then we also went down to 4 and 2 or 4 and -2 versus 5 and -3. So that makes a difference. The Alshon Jeffrey thing, that was another thing where it's like, well, he's probably worth like 15-ish, I figure, so I'll go to 16. Guy had like 9 touchdowns last year, I think. So it could be good. And then Adam Thielen was the same thing. I thought he was like a $25 to $30 receiver, and he got him for 24. So it's just kind of jumping in here and there. So.
And we have another Cleveland sighting of David Njoku. So,
right. I actually like Njoku a lot this year.
I like Njoku too.
I think.
Okay. So we like Duke Johnson. We like.
Not we.
Jarvis Landry. We like David Njoku.
Yeah, those are the 3. Nick Chubb next year.
Yeah, I'm not a Chubb guy. I think Hyde will be good. I think Duke Johnson will kind of do what he did last year. Be your.
Got Josh Gordon there too.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a Gordon guy this year either, but I think Njoku is what he is for $6. I think he's a tight end who might catch me some touchdowns. That's all. I know he's not going to catch 80 balls or anything like that, but he's in that.
Right.
He's in that random. There's a lot of tight ends this year that are in that random, just hope they catch a couple touchdowns here and there kind of thing.
Exactly.
So, anyway, let's jump to the next one. Keep this moving here, and we have the Choops here. JD, who has been unfortunately a little distracted after his brother, who we're thinking about, was in a JD races in the Chump Car Series, which is like a car he built. He races, and he's got a little team, including his brother and his dad, that they race. And his brother was in a pretty bad accident, so we're pulling for you, Travis. He's okay. He just got there were some burns that he's dealing with, and but he's okay for the most part. So. Pulling for you, Travis. And but anyway, JD in the draft ended up traded for Tom Brady, traded Christian McCaffrey for Tom Brady at $16. Devontae Freeman for 19, great keeper there. Brandon Cooks, I think he traded for Cooks, right? Didn't Watson have Cooks or something?
I think so.
Cooks for 29, Stephon Diggs for 17. And also Zach Ertz for 7, which is a great deal. So JD has some pretty good deals coming in the draft here.
How did he have 6 keepers?
3, 4. He had 5.
6, because he had Jerick McKinnon as well.
Maybe he didn't keep Cooks. Cooks was drafted, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
No one knows.
If he wasn't traded, then he was definitely dropped.
Well, let's check the transactions real quick. But that said, while I'm checking that, Nick, what do you think of JD's draft overall?
Fine. I think, right. And I say fine. I say fine. I say fine. And I know that I feel like, but I feel like at this point of our drafting strategy, the way that we've been doing this and the way that our league has evolved is that everyone's draft is pretty much equal on some footing. Like it's some people are a little bit stronger here, others are a little bit weaker here. Some people overspent here, some people underspent there. But at the by and large, everyone had about the same kind of draft. I feel like everyone had their strategy. So it's hard to say like, oh, well, I like this team or I don't like that team. There's nothing that jumps out at me about this team. I think that leaving the draft with only 4 running backs is a very questionable move when you could have spent one of those places backing up, getting a handcuff to someone. Like this team could have been a lot different if instead of picking up, say, Marcus Mariota or Jack Doyle, you picked up Alfred Morris or Matt Breida, who could have been kept. I think Matt Breida was a free agent.
Yeah, I had him. I could have kept him, but yeah, he was
like
Cooks was not a keeper, by the way. Just to confirm, Cooks was not a keeper.
Okay, we can update that. I just think that's just what that strategy. That's just how his strategy played out. Maybe instead of going after Allen Hurns, you've got a handcuff instead. Like it's just teams that go 2 quarterback and 2 tight end, I feel like are wasting a roster spot.
Yeah,
because that means if you're going to go 2 quarterbacks and 2 tight ends, or 2 kickers and 2 defenses, however you want to say it, however you want to do it, that means that you're not walking in with the maximum number of running backs, and you're not walking with or in the maximum number of wide receivers. And I feel like in this league, that is a huge detriment.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, he did try to get 2 startable tight ends that you could start in on any week. So maybe that was this can be my other flex player that I have. That's just Nick's draft strategy 101, which you can see how much that's gotten me in the past. So
Yeah,
that's what I have to say about. That's what I have to say about this. I do like Chris Thompson, especially because the news of Darius Geis had already broken. He'd already torn his ACL, but they hadn't signed AP yet. So by all accounts, Chris Thompson was going to be the guy at that point. So for $25, that was a really good pickup. That's what I'll say.
So speaking of that, this team kind of looks like a team that was modeled after Nick's teams, circa 5-something years ago. I think the receivers here are really deep and really good. He's going to have a hard time kind of picking and choosing. You don't know what's going to happen with Hearns, Sanu. You don't know. They got a rookie there, but I think between Goodwin, Diggs, Cooks, and Thomas, I think there's 4 really, really good high-end receivers that you're going to have a hard time figuring out what to do with. I mean, sometimes it's a good problem to have. Sometimes it's a bad problem. It's all kind of
you trade one for a running back is what you do.
I think that's what you kind of have to do at this point. Maybe you can package up McKinnon hoping somebody's going to use their IR spot or something like that. I don't know exactly what you do here. I don't think, or maybe it's Brady if you're a Mariota guy. Mariota being drafted is a little questionable to me. He's in that range of quarterbacks that, in my opinion, could just probably be picked up off the waivers if you needed them, if something happened to Brady. I think you could find that kind of production. Double tight end, not the end of the world, but again, like Nick said, if you're going to do double quarterback, double tight end kind of is tough. I think if you have Zach Ertz, there's really no reason to have Jack Doyle. I know Doyle is actually a decent PPR guy, but you have pieces to make trades with here McKinnon was unfortunate.
The problem is
you got to address it. You got to address it. 3 running backs isn't going to do it.
Who do you drop? Right, I guess Mariota. Like, if you got to pick up a running back, who do you feel comfortable just dropping for nothing?
I mean, Doyle.
You think Jack Doyle? See, I think I think he needs to be owned. I feel like.
But if you have Zach Ertz, does he need to be owned by you?
No,
but it's him or Mariota, really. I mean,
right? No, that's the problem with drafting, spending $8 on a tight end when you kept Zach Ertz for $7. Like, that's weird to me. And maybe it was a price enforcing thing that nobody went to 9 and he thought they would. So maybe that's why that happened. I think you got to deal either Diggs or Demaryius for like a Duke Johnson style kind of running back.
Maybe an Alfred Morris.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, like a flex kind of running back. You're not going to get much for them, because running backs are at such a premium. But I think you deal one of those guys for like an RB2 or a flex. See what you can get, and maybe bundle Doyle in there somehow if somebody needs a tight end or something. But I think that's what you have to do here. And yeah, it goes down to roster construction. To go from Jerick McKinnon and Devontae Freeman down to Devontae Freeman and now either Frank Gore or Chris Thompson, that's a pretty big hit. So this team took a beating this past weekend. But overall, I think it was a good draft for JD. Just went a little too, you don't need Mariota when you got Brady, and you don't need Doyle when you got Ertz. Go fill your needs. I feel like at that point. So,
but hey, good news is there are dealable players in there, wanted dealable players. Something can be made to really help this team a lot.
Yeah, we've talked about a couple teams who need wide receiver help. So perhaps somebody on this podcast could use some wide receiver help.
Perhaps.
So, just keep that in mind. All right. Next team. I keep losing my window.
The Boondoggle.
I have the Dad Dicks next.
Okay.
First team in the sit-ups division is the Dad Dicks. We're going to hold predictions till next week. We have a special way we're going to do that. So we'll hold the predictions until next week. But we'll do our power rankings and head out after this. Daddick's first team, not a lot can be said here. Freaking Grimes. Kept Kirk Cousins because he has to have Kirk Cousins on his team. It's for 10. And then, of course, he keeps, the 2 of the best 5 running backs in the league and 2 of the best 5 receivers in the league. And, then he just kind of wraps up another championship. So that said, Andy, anything we want to say about Grimes' team here or his draft?
What can you add to that? If this team stays healthy, it's pretty much fast tracked for the playoffs, if not the championship.
Yeah,
that's the downside of a keeper league,
Yeah. That's fine. Sorry,
Yeah.
Grimes. When you win,
Yeah.
when you win 2 out of 3, you don't get
You don't get the airtime.
the airtime.
Yeah.
No one wants to hear about that, Dix.
I mean, yeah, Burkhead for 17, Crabtree for 14. You know, pretty solid values. I mean, they're about where I think we all thought they'd probably go. And then he spent on Olsen. He loves Greg Olsen, so he got him for 18.
Now, downside to this team, he did go 2 quarterbacks, 2 tight ends, and only 4 running backs.
Yeah, okay.
Something you might want to address.
Yeah. Yeah. If the Le'Veon Bell thing, you know, he still hasn't reported to camp, so, you know, if he doesn't show, then he's starting Rex Burkhead or Peyton Barber week 1, which, you know, is not the best thing he wanted. But he didn't have David Johnson all last year, and he still won the damn thing, so not that big a deal. So Grimes, well done on building quite a juggernaut here, and we're all not pulling for you this next year. Also, great trophy presentation at the draft. That was fantastic. We love that.
Yeah.
Hiller's Boondoggle next. Hillers came in with some of the strangest pre-draft transactions we've ever seen. He ended up keeping Alex Smith for $6. He kept Tevin Coleman for $19. Jordan Howard for $7. And Doug Baldwin for $15. And AJ Green for $38. So his big decision that I think we all question is, why would you keep Tevin Coleman at 19 when you could have had Kenyon Drake at 6? I think that's what people are worried about, but he believes in Coleman more than Kenyon Drake. So what are you going to do? His big purchase was obviously Dalvin Cook at 61, who he was not at the draft. He had Dave draft for him. He told Dave, there is no limit to how much I want you to pay for this guy. So Dave just kept going up to 61. And that's what he got. He also got Nyheim Hines for 11. That's really it for big purchases here. So, Nick, what do you think of? Is this the best draft Hillers has ever had?
Define best.
Wait, the best? Better than the others?
I mean, no, it's not, and I think that it comes down to the questioning of everything that he did. Like it's not even so much like, not only did he not keep Kenyon Drake, but if you knew that if you're going into it that pay whatever it costs to get Dalvin Cook, then just keep Dalvin Cook for the price that he's going to.
True.
Like,
yeah.
He's a top 10 running back. He's not going to go for less than $50.
He could have had him for 57. I think he could have kept them for.
Yeah, it was mid to high 50s.
And at least that way you're like, okay, well now, and then you could say like, I have Jordan Howard and Dalvin Cook if you still want to drop Kenyon Drake. Like that's just my only thing. And then you're stuck with, and again, it comes down to having someone else pick up the pieces of the wide receivers that were available. So while I don't necessarily like any of these guys, that doesn't mean, that he personally would have liked someone better. But as far as I'm concerned, all these wide receivers, with the exception of, and I'm not that much of a Doug Baldwin believer. I mean, AJ Green's great, but like it's very mediocre wide receivers that could be good, could be bad, could just be what they are. Like,
yeah,
that's fine. But hey, you know what? He was active on the waivers and picked up his second defense. So good on him.
They vaunted, we purged everybody, have nobody left Seattle defense.
So
yeah, that the trade thing, I get. I talk to Hillers. I like making trades, and I like to talk to Hillers often. I know what he was trying to do and bundle.
You like to talk to Hillers?
Well, when it comes to drafts, he's willing to always talk. So so I get what he was trying to do, but I listen. I'm not even a Drake fan, but I don't know how you keep a number 2 running back on a team versus a starter for $1. But that's a decision that was made. He's got two defenses, which, we'll see how that plays out, along with 2 quarterbacks. We were ragging on 2 tight ends, 2 quarterbacks. I think if we don't rag on 2 defenses, 2 quarterbacks, even more. Bless you. He's got some starters in terms of his running backs are fine. He's got 2 running backs here, Jordan Howard, and Devin Cook, and he's going to probably be playing, I would assume, Coleman as a $19 flex. But after Doug Baldwin and AJ Green, something happened. So Baldwin's already said he's going to be injured basically all season. He's not going to be at an absolute 100%. Who does he want to play there? I mean, do you feel great about Jamison Crowder or the rookie who's dropping more balls than
this looks like a team where Travis Kelce would have really helped out on, I feel like.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I'm not in love with it. I don't hate it, but man, I'm not in love with it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Raul, do you have
probably.
anything?
I mean, no, just to pile on with what Nick said, probably the worst, in my opinion, the worst keeper, like last minute keeper decisions / movement I've ever seen. Like it was just completely bizarre, and I could not. I still can't wrap my head around what he did. He basically traded away Travis Kelce for absolutely nothing, and then threw back Dalvin Cook, and then paid more for him to get him back. Like I just. And then, yeah, like you said, Andy kept the RB2 for instead of for $13 more, and he could have had Kenyon Drake, which he probably could have got. What does Tevin Coleman go for if he goes back in the draft? What do you think?
About $20.
About 20,
About
about
20,
19.
$25. Maybe a little bit more, depending on how much money someone
Upwards
wants to
of
chase for
30,
it.
maybe, just because of PPR.
I think 20, 25. I think that he's saving. I think he's about that. Let's see, 19. How much did
Drake went for 42. He could have had Drake for 6.
You would have saved the price difference there would have. I mean, yeah.
That's the thing to me. Like I can't even look at the draft without thinking about just what could have been otherwise. So
I can't. There's just no rhyme or reason for this. It's if you look at like the prices of the running backs, it's like, okay, well, Samaje Perine goes for Barkley goes for 60, which would be kind of new. But then you have like Theo Riddick going for 5. Like is Theo Riddick and Devontae Freeman about that? Like who knows? But then you have like Alfred Morris was a free agent, but he was I guess Burrito was $3 because he was the backup at the time.
I mean, LaShawn McCoy went for 32, which is not
a
whole hell of a lot more.
Ronald Jones for 12, Joe Mixon for 50. Like the prices are just so all over the place that it's just.
I mean, RB1 prices are where they are, though. I mean, that's the thing.
We're talking an RB2.
Yeah, which is not Mixon, which is not Barkley, which is not those guys. I mean, those guys are RB1s. So you can't compare 1s to 2. I mean, that's where it gets weird.
But he's going to make trades. He loves to make trades, loves to make moves. This team will be drastically different probably by week 4.
by the start of the week on Sunday.
All right, next team is the Weenyay. We'll power through here. We're getting a little long in the tooth. But Weenyay came in keeping get Russell Wilson again. Keeping Todd Gurley, keeping Todd Gurley at 46, keeping Dion Lewis at 8, who I think you traded for with Hillers, and keeping Chris Hogan at 13, which I think was a great value. Big draft picks.
13.
Oh, Mike Evans, that's right. Yeah, good call. At 13 as well. Big draft picks, Russell Wilson at 18, Mark Ingram at 19, Kerryon Johnson 10, and receivers pretty cheap, John Ross for 10. And then you drafted Gronk for 33.
No, I kept him.
You kept Gronk.
It's okay.
Okay, so that it didn't say that. So okay, yeah, Gronk's okay. He's pretty good at football. All right, Nick, looking at Andy's team here. What do you think of keepers and draft?
Wilson, I think. What are you going to do for the first 4 weeks with Ingram out at running back?
Lewis.
How comfortable do you feel about that?
The PPR, he's a low end too. Not in love with it, but he's a low end too.
Got him for 8 when Derrick Henry went for 42.
Yeah, and then who's your flex? Ross.
Probably Anderson.
Who's the quarterback for the Jets? Oh, it's the rookie.
Yeah, so we'll see how that
goes.
goes.
I don't like when Ingram gets back, this team's a lot better. You just kind of have to weather it. Like I think that you're kind of in my same boat where it's if you can enter week 5 or the start of week 5 at 500, I think that's kind of the okay, cool. Now I can make a run. I think that's just kind of just roster management getting to that point. But I think your team's fine. I think your team can do it. I think that Wilson will be able to supplement a lot of the points that you're losing by not having Ingram at the moment. So I think that you'll be okay. I think it'll just be tough. Like you're going to be a Seahawks fan for the first couple. You're definitely going to be a Seahawks fan for the first couple of weeks. You're going to love Russell Wilson or hate him.
Yeah, I like the Geronimo Allison pickup also that you just did for $1. That might work out. There's rumors about Cobb being traded, which I'm sure will happen. I'll probably go to the Browns or something. But yeah.
Yes, you would. That's exactly the kind of move the Browns would make.
Yeah, exactly. We need another slot receiver. Yeah, I mean, the run, like Nick said, I mean, it comes down to running backs. I mean, you know, we mentioned, I think your receivers are right up there with Evans and Hogan. I think Hogan's going to have a monster year with Amendola out the first 4 weeks and the Patriots not being able to keep any receivers at all on the roster, just cutting them and people retiring, and they're just the hardest place to be a receiver apparently in the NFL. I think Hogan's going to be a monster this year, and then you got Gronk too, the other side of that. So, yeah, if you can weather those first 4 weeks, man, who knows? But yeah, if the running backs, if you can get something out of Dion, like if he turns out to be the guy, and especially in PPR, he's probably he's going to be a little more valuable in PPR for sure. So, yeah, man, I like it.
That's the hope. That's the hope. Kind of get through to get Ingram back in the team. You know, Gronk gives me leg up each week because he's Gronk, and hope and Gurley can kind of carry me there. And
did you have a strategy or a must get coming into the draft that you wanted?
Not particularly. I know I wanted Ross. I didn't want to pay 10 for him, but I had him all last year, so I said, "Fuck it, I want to keep him." You know, I not really.
Yeah, just see what values come up and grab them.
Fell to me.
Yep.
Yeah, I wanted to get one of the rookie running backs to see what happened. So.
Sure. Okay. All right, let's jump to the Assassins, our last team here.
All right.
Assassins came in, kept Deshaun Watson, traded for Tariq Cohen to keep him at $4. Deshaun Watson also at $4. Larry Fitzgerald he kept at 20, which good value there, and then Allen Robinson at 28, which I was a little surprised by, but I think he probably would have went for a round there, honestly, in the draft. So his big purchases were Saquon Barkley at $60. Which is a lot for a rookie, but man, who knows? That's about what the top rookie goes for these days. So, and then also Marvin Jones at 12. That's it, right? I mean, Mike Williams, Jordan Reed, those guys. We'll start with you, Andy, on Watson's draft here. What do you think of his keepers in his draft?
You know, so my biggest problem here is he's playing the triple quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I think Baker Mayfield you can pick up after a week, whenever, you know, if he even starts this year, and your backup's Ryan Tannehill. To me, this is my team. I just run with Deshaun Watson. If something happens, I go pick up Ryan Tannehill off the waivers. He's gonna be there.
Yeah.
I like his running backs. I like his receivers. You know, they're a little. You could say this about majority of teams. They're not super deep. I think this is a solid team. Things go his way. Deshaun Watson stays healthy. I think this absolutely could be a team in contention. I really do.
His other keeper was Melvin Gordon. The keeper's first free agency thing is messed up. Sorry about that. But he had Melvin and Gordon at 31. So,
sorry.
Yeah. No, it's not your fault. I mean, you're doing kind of a lot going on, man. So, but yeah. Nick, thoughts on Watson's team here?
I mean, again, the three quarterback strategy is beyond comprehension.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, he has three quarterbacks, but he still was able to get 5 running backs and 5 wide receivers. Like, yeah, so he was able to max out his running backs. He's missing a wide receiver, but okay, I mean, you could have had 6 of them. So,
yeah,
you know, at least he maxed out this. At least he didn't pick up 3 quarterbacks and then 2 tight ends. Like, that would have been a huge mistake, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but yeah, no, his team's nothing. Melvin Gordon's going to be the huge question, and then Saquon Barkley. But like, so for this year, that's fine. The question just becomes at $60. Like, is he worth 63, 65 next year? Like, I mean, that's the only question. But we're not worried about 2019. You're playing to win this year, so
yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah, once you crest a certain amount of dollars, it's a this year thing. So.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's fine. We'll just play it by ear and see what happens. It's a very Watson team.
Yeah, I think the 3 quarterbacks. It's not that it costs you money because you didn't spend a lot on the quarterbacks. It costs you roster spots. Yeah, that's another currency you have that you've got to manage. So with Jordan Reed as your main tight end, maybe you get a backup tight end because Jordan Reed not the most reliable tight end out there. So maybe you spend that roster spot. Yeah, it's already questionable, right? So This is another team where, I mean, his receivers are good. I mean, obviously Fitzgerald's good, but this is a team where some of those teams who are receiver rich and need a running back, maybe they can come and try to get Cohen off of him somehow. I don't know. Yeah, I like this team. I mean, Saquon and Melvin Gordon, running back, that's really strong. And then, if Sam Bradford stays healthy, Fitzgerald could be good, and Marvin Jones is always underrated. So, and Mike Williams, man, that guy could blow up. I mean, that guy, he's making me nervous as a Keenan Allen owner. I got to be honest, because that guy's just nasty. So, yeah, solid draft by Watson. Gone are the $25 Reggie Bush days. So.
But in are the 3 quarterback days.
Yeah, well, nobody's perfect. So, all right, let's do our power rankings and get out of here. It's taking way too long.
Sorry, guys.
We will start with Nick, and we'll go 12 to 7, I think, and then so Nick 12 to 7.
12 to 7. Yeah, sorry.
And then stop at 7, and then we'll go to Andy, and then I'll go.
Okay. All right. I have starting at 12. It's Duplex, TDJ, Hillers, Choop, Patty, and then EBS.
Wow.
So for me, starting at 12, I have Choops, 11 Duplex, 10 Roscoe, 9 Patty, 8 TDJ, and 7 Hillers.
Okay. 12, I've got Roscoe, Cyborg Tony Romo. At 11, I've got Duplex. At 10, I've got Choops. At 9, I have TDJ. 8 Hillers. 7 Weenye.
Ooh. All right, then rounding out.
I don't know, man.
6.
Once I got to like 7 to
this
2,
is like,
I really didn't know.
Yeah, no, these are all going to be way off. So
I pick Andy first every year, and it never works out. So he should be happy that I got him down here now.
I appreciate it.
I have Watson at 6, running out of Fucks at 5, Cyborg Tony Romo 4, Hitman Weenye, and then Dad Dick's surprise of to no one.
Yeah. I have 6 EBS, 5 Assassins, 4 Weenyes, 3 running out of Fucks, 2 Hitmen, 1 Dad Dick.
I have 6 Hitmen, 5 Assassins, 4 running out of Fucks, 3 Patty, 2 EBS, and 1 Dad Dicks. So
wow. No love for the runner.
So we are all over the fucking place.
we really are.
Well, you know what? It's not that bad. Our top 12 is the same though.
Our top 12 is the same.
We all have the same teams.
Yeah, we all have the same teams in our top 12. They're just arranged a little bit differently.
We are nothing if not consistent. Anyway,
we are not consistent.
Preview for next week. We will have our predictions podcast. We will each make a prediction, and then we will have a special prediction that may be created by computers. We'll say a computer prediction next week. So
I do have on here real quick. I'll do this super quick. I was able to enter all of our teams.
Oh yeah, good call.
Them into fantasypros.com. And just to give you everybody a rundown of what this professional site says.
Was this with our scoring system?
With our scoring system, it does have at 12 Touchdown Jesus, 11 Duplex, 10 Cyborg Tony Romo, 9 EBS, 8 Hillers, 7 Patty, 6 Choops, 5 running out of Fucks, 4 Assassins, 3 Hitmen, 2 Weenye, 1.
If there's ever been a consensus about anything in this freaking league, yeah.
This guy is probably like, how the fuck does this guy have this stuff?
Yeah, right. How many first round picks does he have on his team?
That's our week 1 power rankings on the site for whatever that doesn't mean to
there
anyone.
You go. We'll have to keep that updated, see how that goes throughout the year. So anyway, let's end this horribly long thing, and we'll say goodnight to you guys. Any final thoughts? Are we good?
We're good.
Happy paper delivery day.
Happy paper delivery day for Andy, for Nick, and for Hillers Intestines. This is Merrill saying Oliver. We will talk to you guys later.